And action. It's kind of interesting because I have a hunting channel, but the most commonly asked question I get is nothing about hunting. It's about what camera do I use? And I understand it because I self-film, so a lot of people want to also self-film, so I figured now is a good time to kind of go through my whole setup, run down on the ins and outs of everything I use, have used, and what I recommend for you to use, because it is my most commonly asked question. I'm filming outside simply so you can kind of hear the ambiance and hear the differences in the microphones. I'm going to be switching cameras a few times, just so you can kind of get a visual for different things, and ultimately it's up to you, but I'm going to give you my recommendations. There's some I recommend, some I definitely don't, but let's get into it. Here's what I use. Off the bat, this camera right here is the one that I have filmed the majority of the hunts on my channel with. I have had this a long time. I truthfully don't even know what year it was when I got it. Maybe 2018? I'm totally guessing, but if I go back far enough, I'd probably find it. But this is a Sony a6300. The lens on it, I actually feel like I used a different lens for a long time. I have a few different types of lenses that I bought over the years just for different purposes. So like, just depending on what it was that I was filming. The reason I went with this camera is, one, because it was cheap at the time for something good, and two, because it's small. I loved how compact it was. And three, because the Sony E-mount lenses were very versatile. So I had a lot of options, specifically cheap options, because I was a broke college kid that couldn't afford too much. So that was kind of why I went with this, and I used it for a long time. Now, that being said, it's not the best out there. Definitely not the best anymore. At one point it was pretty good, but ultimately it was not a camera that was something that was like, oh my gosh, wow, the quality is the best I've ever seen. No, it just got the job done. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is kind of what your personal goals are with filming, whether it's to be high production, whether it's to just kind of have fun with it, show friends and family. You know, maybe you simply just want to see your shot placement on an animal and be able to rewatch it and figure out what kind of hit you had. I mean, there's so many different, you know, like directions you could take it, I guess. So my recommendations are more so going to be just a generic blank slate. Something like this is called a DSLR. So it's essentially a camera that is for photos and video. It's kind of a dual purpose type of camera. The camera you're also watching from is a DSLR, so that's pretty much what I have always ran, specifically because I wanted photos and video. So I guess that would be the first point, is maybe you only want video, maybe you really only care about photos. If you want something in between, a DSLR is a good option. Now, that said, if you are brand new to filming and have had never done anything with a camera at all, besides maybe your phone, this is not something I would say to start out with, simply because there's a lot of buttons. You gotta kind of know what you're doing, you gotta figure out the correct settings, and yeah, you could throw it in auto, but I don't necessarily recommend that. Everything I do is fully manual, with a few exceptions, but for the most part, I am constantly changing the settings as I'm in the tree or wherever I'm at. I am messing with it. Again, you don't have to do that, but if you're trying to be of like a high production kind of quality, you almost have to. So I don't necessarily recommend starting out with this. I have had cameras my whole life, so that's kind of also why I went with this, more so than just a video camera. because I wanted to challenge myself, I guess. It's like about the biggest thing I can say. But I do love these because they're versatile. They do have a lot of lens options. I think the one that's on it, like I was saying, is the main one that I ran. I may have had a different one for a long time, but I know this one I ran for the last several years, and I really loved it for what it is. It's the 18-200 3.5. So what that means, if you don't know, is like the millimeter range. So 18 millimeters out to 200, and basically that's the zoom. So 18-200 is the zoom. That's a good mid-range for if you're in a tree stand. So if you're archery hunting, 18-200 is kind of a good all around, like you can get really close shots, but also if they're out at 40 yards, you can still see them pretty well. So I really did like this lens. I added some camo tape and kind of customized it, but yeah, that's kind of what I worked with for a long time. It's so tiny, and I think that's what I love the most about it. I just have a regular shotgun, a Rode shotgun mic. I call it my squirrel tail because I think it looks kind of like a dead squirrel. It's a little mangy looking, but it did the job. So again, I'll throw in some clips. This is kind of what I filmed with for a long time. Don't recommend it unless you really want to go the DSLR route. Then this is a great starter camera. Okay, so now we're going to jump into my second shot angle. I used several second shot angles for a long time. I had a Canon G7X Mark III that I used for a few years. It was a great little vlog camera. I didn't love it though because I was trying to advance my stuff and I wanted to start filming in 4K, and anytime you put that in 4K it overheats within 2 minutes. No matter how cold it is, the camera, it just can't handle it. So it's kind of annoying because to me it was like false advertising. Like, sure, yeah, you can get 4K, but you can only get like 30-second clips. Well, that didn't do me any good. So I paid for it, didn't really get to use it. So that's kind of why I'm not even showing it to you, because I don't even recommend it. It's a great little point and shoot for photos, or if you want to keep it in 1080, but 4K it just didn't love. So I upgraded to GoPros, and I say upgrade because I have 2 of these, and I wouldn't say quality-wise they're the most amazing. They definitely are a very compressed file, and they're simply a second angle. So I like these though because they're small. All you have to do is press the button. Many of the other cameras that I used for second angles, you had to like turn it on, like make sure it was on, press record, and like it was too many steps, where this you can just press it and it's good to go. So I've messed around with them a few times, kind of figured out what I really like, and I really love running one of them on my bow. So I have the this is called a Mag Pro GP. So basically it's a magnet that you can just attach your GoPro to, and I sell these on my website if you guys are interested. I really love it. It's really nice for looking at your shots when you're practicing in the yard. It's nice for recovery if you can like see the deer or whatever it is that you're shooting at. As far as shot placement, I really love it for that. It's one thing you kind of have to get used to because it is a little bit of weight on the front, but as far as like having that footage, I really, really recommend it. Because sometimes you can't always get the main camera pointed in the direction that you want it to. If a deer is moving really fast or, you know, something, if you're trying to self-film, it's definitely difficult. So having that extra angle ready to go is super helpful. You can also obviously turn it and face you, or like I sometimes have a second one up in the tree facing me, and I kind of just let that run, which is another reason I really like the GoPros, is you can just turn them on and they will run until either the battery dies or the card fills up, which, you know, if you just keep your eye on it, it's a long time. So they're not the best in like real cold conditions. So that's one thing that's kind of like could be better, but if you can keep a hot pack or like some kind of warmth around it, it's usually not too bad. So I'll usually keep the batteries in my pockets, and then just whenever I need to swap them out, they're still warm. So anyway, I really like that. That's simply the second angle that I'm currently running, and I do highly recommend it. I've also heard good things about the Insta360s. I even looked into maybe getting some of those. I haven't tried them yet, but they also will work on this adapter and the GoPro mount. So if you're interested, go check out my website. Yeah, I love it. Last but not least, I'm gonna swap out my camera that's filming currently with my A6300 just so you guys can kind of get a difference in camera quality. Okay, so now you are watching through my Sony A6300, just to give you kind of a little idea of the sights and sounds. So this little beauty, big beauty I should say, is my current camera, and I love it. I love it because the quality is so good, and there are a lot of buttons, so I can really customize everything pretty much. I love this because the screen flips out. The camera you're watching on currently, the screen does not do that. So I never knew what I was really pointed at unless I was behind the camera. But if I ever tried to film myself or even like a really hard angle, I could never see the screen. So that's one thing I love about this. It's very like creative, content creation friendly. So love that. You wouldn't think that'd be a big deal, but it is a big deal. This also still runs on the E-mount series. So again, a lot of lens options. You can swap out different ones. This is this is a Tamron 35 to 150 f2. So it's very, very good in low light. The lower your f-stop number, the better it is in low lighting. So that's one thing that I love. The camera you're watching through, I never had a lens that was less than 3.5, so not the best in low light. The camera body itself wasn't great in low light. So a lot of the time with these cameras, the body and the lens quality can really affect each other. Typically your lens is more important than your body. If you get a really high quality lens, it'll kind of help you out if your body's not the best. But this setup, I love it. I wish it was lighter. It's pretty heavy. I actually don't know what it weighs offhand, but I want to say like 5 to 8 pounds, give or take. It's not lightweight, so lugging it in the woods for self-filming is not the best. But I don't care, like I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of weight for the quality. But if you're trying to be minimal and self-film and go just be bopping around in the woods, you're not going to want to carry this around because it's definitely not lightweight. And then you add on the camera arm and the whole setup gets very heavy. So a lot of my weight when I'm hunting is my camera, unfortunately, but kind of just is what it is, and I put up with it. So the mic on this is the ECM B10. And what's great about this is I have put this through the ringer. Like literally, I've been really not nice to it. Not on purpose, but it just happens. And it looks very flimsy, but it has withstood a lot of, it's taken a lot. I've beat on it quite a bit. So that is one thing that's really great about it. The next great thing is there's a lot of manual features on the back. You can choose your focal point essentially, so you can choose like surround sound. You can have it pick up only from the front or the front and the sides. So that's really nice for like directional shooting. If you really only want to hone in on one thing, you can do that. You can choose your audio level. There's some like wind filters. It's really great for all that, and the best part about it is there's no battery. It runs off the camera battery, and I've never noticed an issue as far as like draining my camera battery. Doesn't do that, so I love that about it. Sometimes some of these external mics can get bulky or they just run off of a big battery that then you also have to charge that. And that always made me nervous. I prefer stuff that kind of is simplified in a sense, because I'm already charging like several batteries, and like having an extra one to worry about is just like not what I want to deal with when I'm in the tree. Less is more sometimes. So this mic has been really, really nice for that. It does make me nervous. I'm very careful about this whole setup because it's very, very expensive. Very expensive. So I baby it, but there's times that like it just gets beat up, and so it really has held up, which I love. It's pretty great. If you advance yourself enough and you kind of think, okay, I really want something that's a good all around, this is something that I would recommend. I don't even know if I said what it is, but it's the Sony A7S III. So it's done me well, and I plan on keeping it. I will say though, it's very expensive, and when you're purchasing, you're not just purchasing the camera, you have to purchase the camera, body, the lens, mics, batteries. Batteries are very expensive, and SD cards. And if you get the correct SD cards, these run off of what's it called? CF Express. And those cards are not just normal SD cards, they're expensive cards. So they're great as far as keeping the quality really well, but it's pricey. So keep that in mind. This is a several $1,000 setup just right here. So, but I'm at the point in my production career that I was like, I need something a little bit more than what you guys are watching now. So that is what I'm currently using, but I, again, don't recommend it. So keep that in mind. Unless you have some filming experience, then maybe this is something to look into. Okay, so the next question that I get a lot is not just what camera, but what camera arm I use. And I struggle to answer this question because I don't believe that there is a perfect camera arm on the market currently. I've used a whole bunch of them, and for one reason or another, they all have issues, which I get it. Everybody's setup is different, so there's never going to be like a one-size-fits-all. But it would be nice. So currently, with the camera you're watching through, which is my A7S III, I am using a 4th Arrow camera arm. I don't remember what model this is. Mini or micro or whatever the small 3 section arm is. I hate it personally. No offense to 4th Arrow, but I just think the bracket design is not done well. I think the arm itself is good. The end of it's rubber, which I love because it's quiet. But the bracket system is a little funky. I can never get it to stay like truly tight on the tree. I don't know. I think it could be better. The swivel system to kind of set up the level is okay. I think sometimes it likes to stick, and then sometimes I can't fully get it at an angle that I want. I'm very limited. Like, I want to be able to like do this if I have to, you know, because sometimes the trees that I get in are not like perfect up and down. So anyway, that's, I guess, a minimal gripe, but I think it's pretty valid because it's just, it doesn't always do it for me. So the only reason I'm really using this truthfully is because my current camera is very heavy, and my old system, it can't quite hold the weight. Otherwise I would still be using this. Again, no hate to them, it's not my favorite. Now, the reason it's hard for me to recommend this is because this one that is my favorite is no longer on the market because of a few discrepancies between the manufacturer and the creator. Not the same person, so they had kind of a falling out, unfortunately. This was my favorite. Both of these, by the way, are just attached to the tree with a ratchet strap, so just kind of run it through the back, around the tree, cinch it tight, good to go. I like the leveling system on this because if I want to, I can literally flip this around and have it this way. If like I need a limb that's like this, good to go. Love it, great. Otherwise, flip it back around and just do any regular tree. So I really, really wish I could recommend this to you guys. I do love it. It just unfortunately doesn't hold the weight of my camera. It's very top heavy in a sense, where the bracket system on this comes loose. Doesn't matter how much I crank it, it still wants to kind of do this on the tree. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I was willing to deal with that if it would like semi hold the camera, but it just doesn't. So I need my camera at least upright. So it worked really well with this one. So if I were to ever go to a smaller camera, I would definitely go back to this. But spoiler alert, I am currently working on a prototype for a camera arm with the Painted Arrow boys. So shout out to them for being my manufacturer, but I have given them kind of criteria that I am looking for in a camera arm, and I said, go build it. So I'm hoping they can accomplish that. I think they can. The soonest I'm gonna have a prototype is like now. I think within the next few weeks I'm gonna have something to kind of mess around with that I'm very, very excited for. So if you guys could maybe stay patient, I know it's kind of like deer season's coming up, but I would love to be able to say, go get the camera arm on my website because it's the best. So if you can be patient, there is one coming, and I promise it will be the best because I am very like, I know what I want, right? I know I've done this long enough. I know what I need in an arm. And ideally, it's going to be able to hold a variety of camera weights. So if you have something tiny, cool. It's not going to be obnoxious. But also, if you have a camera that weighs 8 pounds like mine does, it'll still be able to hold and be solid. So that's the ultimate goal. But feature-wise, you're going to have to wait because it is still in the works. But I'm very excited about it, and I will get it out as soon as I can, I promise you. Okay, so aside from camera arms, the tripod that you guys are currently sitting on is a Slik, S-L-I-K, and Corbin actually gave it to me, and it came with a fluid head, but the fluid head broke, and I don't remember how, but I loved it. It was a great, like, all-around, very lightweight, like, great little tripod. And fluid head. Fluid head broke. I tried to buy a new one and they were like sold out everywhere, couldn't get one. So I had to get one that was just different. And it's a Neewer, N-E-E-W-E-R, Neewer, however you say that, GM001. It's off Amazon, so I didn't really have high expectations for it, but I was in a pinch and I needed a fluid head. And so far, I love it. It's really fluid, like genuinely it's fluid. I haven't had any like skipping or any weird things that some of the camera or some of the fluid heads do. Very, very smooth. So I like it. The handle on it is retractable or expandable, which I really love too, because when I'm up in a tree, I like everything kind of right here. I don't want it, you know, hitting off of stuff. So far it's been really nice, and I still use the Slik. So it's great for camera arm or tripod. Drum roll, please. Now I'm going to tell you what I think you should get. Again, like I said in the beginning, it really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you're self-filming, if you have somebody filming you, if you want to spend a lot of money, if you don't want to spend a lot of money, if you want to film in a tree stand, if you want to take pictures, if you want to, it doesn't matter. There's so many things that like you should kind of consider. But my overall number one recommendation, and I would love to show it to you, but I used to have one and it wasn't technically mine. It was my best friend's and she has it, so I can't physically show it to you, but it's a handy cam. And the exact model, I don't remember. I think it was a Sony. but there are so many different handy cams on the market, like literally so many, it's kind of not funny, but they are great for just anybody getting into filming, all around, all different price points, all different features. So if you know what you're trying to look for, or if you don't, you can find one. Biggest thing I would say is figure out what your budget is, because you can pay $100 or you can pay several thousand to get a big camcorder. It really can go anywhere. This day and age, as long as it says 4K on the side, typically it's going to be a good enough camera for anybody. You don't necessarily have to film everything in 4K. A lot of our current screens that you're watching this through don't even read 4K, so maybe your phone or like a computer might, but your television probably doesn't pick up on 4K. So if I were to put this out in 1080, you might not even notice the difference depending on what screen you have. So as long as it has the option to do 4K, you're probably safe. I will say 4K file sizes are much larger, so if you're trying to edit and upload something like quickly, or you know, if you don't really care too much about quality as far as like how sharp it is, you don't necessarily need 4K, but that's just what I like to run it in. It takes me forever because my Wi-Fi is not great, so sometimes it's like, all right, it'll take me a while, but I'd rather wait and have good quality versus not, but that's just because of what I'm doing. If you're just trying to show your buddies, like, hey, look at this deer that I shot, you don't need 4K. But a good base point of a camera quality is, if it says 4K on it, you're probably safe. So typically all of the features are like auto. You just literally press record, and as long as you're facing wherever you're trying to film, you're probably good to go. They have zoom features. Again, that just depends on the kind of the tier that you're in with which one you get, but like typically for especially whitetail hunting, if you're in a tree stand, any handy cam you get is going to be okay. So that is 100% what I recommend. And I know a lot of people want to be like, oh, I don't want to just get the basics, but truly, like, if you are learning how to self-film, get something cheap that isn't like feature rich necessarily, and take it out with you and learn how to have the camera around you before you upgrade. Because it doesn't matter how good of a quality camera you have, if you can't film, it's not gonna work out anyway. So having the camera in the tree is a whole separate thing that you have to think about while a deer's coming in, and while, you know, you got branches in the way, and then suddenly like he comes in and he gets behind you and you gotta turn and the camera's now in your way. And there's so many like little things that you don't realize until you're doing it. I had to learn the hard way for a lot of deer. There's several deer that are still kicking because I never was able to get a shot due to the camera. And it just is what it is. It's kind of a learning curve. But that's also why I say don't go out and buy the most expensive thing right away. Just get something cheap, figure out how to have it around, and then upgrade as you get better. So I think I covered all of the topics. I guess my last thing is, everybody wants to know what editing software I use, and it is Adobe. So Premiere Pro is like pretty much what I've only ever used. I don't have any experience in anything else. Way back in the day, and this might age me a little bit, but you used to be able to edit your videos directly on YouTube, like upload them to YouTube and then just edit and post them. That was a long time ago, so I don't even think that's an option anymore. But aside from that, I've only ever used Premiere Pro, and I don't necessarily think that is the most beginner friendly. Again, I had this much editing experience when I started using it, so I think that kind of helped me. But if you're just trying to get into something easy, try to find some like free softwares, or I don't know, a bunch out there. I really can't even tell you what to go with because I literally have never used anything else. But I will say Premiere is not necessarily cheap. So if you're not trying to like have a YouTube channel or be any kind of production quality, you don't necessarily need Premiere. There's got to be a lot of free ones out there that you can use that'll be, you know, kind of get you by. Or maybe you do want that. I don't know. Maybe that's something if you trying to be serious about it, then yeah, go for Premiere. The nice thing about today is YouTube has so many tutorials and how-tos and walkthroughs of different things. So if you don't know how to use something, you can literally just look it up. So yeah, I think that covers mostly everything. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The biggest thing is just get a camera, take it out with you, and just practice and figure out what works for you personally. I've had a lot of years to have trial and error, so I found what works for me, what I love. I'm always kind of tinkering, and I like to upgrade whenever I can and when I can afford it. So I think the last few years my video qualities have slowly gotten really good. Quality, maybe not the filming, but yeah, I've kind of learned little things here and there. So hopefully, you know, one of those little things is helpful to you. If not, sorry about your luck. That's just what I use. So I wish you guys the best. Stay tuned for new products coming out. I promise this camera arm is going to be amazing. I will not release anything that is less than the best because that's what I expect out of my gear. So thank you guys for watching. I hope I answered all your questions. If you have any more, drop a comment. See you later.